to Movie Scars and Brew. I'm your host, Keith, and we're going to talk about The Lazarus Effect, which I got to see last night as a part of the Philadelphia Film Society in a pre-screening. The Lazarus Effect is a horror flick coming out this Friday on February 27th, 2015. It's directed by Peter Gelb, I believe is how you pronounce his last name, and it was written by Luke Dawson and Jeremy Slater. It stars Mark Dupress, Olivia Wilde, Donald Glover, no relation to Danny Glover, Evan Peters, Sara Bolger, and Amy Aquino. It's got a PG-13 rating, and it came in about 83 minutes, which was actually a relief to some extent. This movie basically is about reanimating the dead. It's got a group of researchers who were actually commissioned to do study on coma patients and their brain activity, whose work kind of branched off into eventually trying to reanimate a non-living object. They had a breakthrough, and that led to a canine being reanimated. The canine started acting very strangely in the process, which was building to some tension, obviously. But this entire, endeavor was unsanctioned by the grant that they were given, and their research was seized because the university had been monitoring everything that they did by the university. So there was a pharmaceutical company that came in and took all the work, and essentially they were at a point where they lost everything. They were kicked out, and in a last-ditch effort, they kind of come back in and want to duplicate the process and videotape it so that they can release it to the world and take credit for what they've done. This is where the story starts, but as you can conveniently imagine, there was a horrible thing that happened, and one of the researchers, Olivia Wilde, who's playing Zoe, is killed, and her fiancé, who also works on the team, convinces the rest of the team to try to do this process and reanimate a human. So that's where we go from at this point into the horror aspect of this movie, and it delves into her past and her fears, and obviously it becomes a quite clouded, and this is where the movie really breaks down for me. There's a decent narrative here that's an introspection on the moralistic element of reanimating somebody that's deceased, and really about like the guilty types of things that we have in our life and how they follow us through not only life but into the afterlife as well, and that is quite interesting. There's even a sci-fi aspect to what it physically means to pass on to the next life. But despite all that, the movie loses its way by being a slave to the horror schlock that makes everybody groan, essentially. You've got all of these scares that, practically everybody in the movie apparently likes to sneak up behind the other person and scare them. It just took away from the movie almost immediately. It's the first time you see it, and that was relatively early in the movie. They did it multiple times. There's, of course, the use of strobe lights and the turning out of the lights and blackened pupils, and at one point there was a suggestion of levitation. The levitation they didn't show that fully, but it looked like she was levitating herself at one point, hinting at possession. But I really didn't see this as a possession story whatsoever. This is a story that is essentially about a woman who's tragically killed, and she's haunted by a singular event in her own life that, because of the fact that she was brought back to life in this unnatural aspect, it had a disastrous result for everyone involved. But at the end of the day, this movie plays way too much into just being another horror movie with nothing original, and sticking to all the scare techniques, etc. The acting was fine. It wasn't poor acting that took away from this movie. It was really the way that they chose to tell the story, and that's regrettable. It's a shame that they missed the mark on this, because there was the kernel of a really good story. Look for some more reviews coming up soon, and give us a like on Facebook at moviescarsandabrew.com, and visit the website to see other reviews of various natures. Talk to you again soon.